Hey guys, there's an investigative reporter by the name of Geraldo, and he is doing the circuit right now. He is on a lot of different news channels giving his take on what he found because he's the one who broke the story. He's the one who had all the information that we needed here in America because, as you guys know, the information was locked up with the doctor and the other three people, the cops as well as the municipal personnel. They were not spilling the beans. They were not talking. They kept it hush hush. They lied. They omitted information. So Geraldo was the only one. Geraldo Seneca, that's his name. He's the only one who we can get the actual information from. He is a groundbreaking news reporter and he works on all these high profile cases. He's an investigative reporter who goes deep in the story and he really puts his life on the line because a lot of these stories that he investigates can cost him his life. So the authorities in Mexico are looking into arresting and extraditing these friends. One was already taken into custody by the FBI here in America, and she is looking to be extradited. So as far as we know, Daejhanae Johnson was taken into custody and she's waiting extradition back to Mexico for prosecution. So the FBI is continuing their investigation on the other five people who went on vacation, not necessarily present, because it was reported only three were present during the beating. But I wonder where the others were. Maybe they were in a different room, but it still implicates them. It does not exonerate them because if they were in that house and they heard the beating and heard the screaming, because I'm sure Shanquella was screaming because when you're being beaten, you're not quiet. If you're getting the blunt of the blows, you are screaming. And if they heard that scream of that young woman and they did nothing to help, they did not come out of their rooms to help that young woman, they would still be implicated in this murder. And if she was quiet, let's say she was quiet and she wasn't screaming, that only indicates that maybe something else went on. Could it be that maybe she was drugged before she was beaten? Maybe that's why she didn't fight back as much. Some on social media, of course, this is all alleged, but some people are saying it could be that maybe she was drugged before that beating. It's all alleged, of course, because a toxicology report would have shown drugs in her system and nothing was reported. So I'm going to start with Shanquella's sister. She said that her sister came to her on the 27th of October to borrow a piece of luggage, and she told her to be safe. This is according to news outlets. She told her to be safe, and who knew that that would be the last time that she would see her sister? Because you're not thinking that something's going to happen to her because she was in the midst of people she had traveled with before, she trusted, and they were her friends, and they went to college together. So that old saying that old folks used to say, with friends like these, you don't need enemies. Now that saying is absolutely correct in this case. Now imagine you wishing your sister goodbye, that she should have a good trip, and then 2 days later, you find out that she's dead. That's a hell of a thing. That's so sudden because this child wasn't sick. Shanquella wasn't sick. And so that was a sudden news. I mean, that's enough to jolt your heart. And mind you, her friends didn't have, well, at least I don't know that they had any sketchy past because it didn't come out. There was no news media reporting that the friends had a sketchy past, either one of them. None of them, as far as I know, ever served any jail time before or murdered anybody or stabbed anybody. So by all accounts, these were upstanding friends. There was no reason for the family to be fearful of her going away on a trip with them because she traveled on trips with them before. And all these news outlets like CNN and CBS and ABC and all the other news outlets, they are getting as much of the story as they can now because they dropped the ball. They did not initially report this story for a whole month. Well, most of them anyway. I think one news outlet didn't mention it, but it was just like a quick glossing over for like a day or two. And then it was gone. So that means they were not going to report on it anymore. And social media picked up on it and kept pushing. Because really, guys, when a white woman goes missing, all attention is on that story. All the news outlets report on that. But when a black woman goes missing, they drop the ball. It's hardly reported on or not reported on at all. So this is where social media comes in. Social media is the new news team on the ground to pick up all these local stories that are not being reported on. So kudos on everyone who reported on this story early on in social media, from the Twitter feeds to the YouTube feeds, the Instagram feeds, etc. So there's an investigator in Mexico, and he's been circling around the internet. His name is Geraldo Seneca, and he's been on several news outlets, and he's the one who broke the story. He's the one who investigated. He's the one who broke the story wide open. He's the one who printed it in the papers that he worked for. So all credits are going out to him. Now, he deals with the hardened cases, a lot of murder cases. That's where his reporting comes in, where he has to go deep. And a lot of times it's very, very dangerous. He does very dangerous work because when you're digging deep into certain stories like the Mexican cartel, you can get killed. A lot of journalists in Mexico have lost their lives. And so kudos to all the journalists in Mexico, and rest in peace to the ones who lost their lives. But let's get back to this story. So Geraldo Seneca has been on ABC, CNN. He's the source for this information leaking out, getting out, and just informing not only the folks in Mexico, but the folks in America. So all these news outlets now are looking to him for answers, and he is spilling tea on what he knows. So he writes for a newspaper called Metropolis MX newspaper. So everybody now is pulling up this Metropolis MX newspaper to see what's the latest information that he has out. So that's where a lot of these bloggers now are getting their information from Geraldo. And why not? Because the doctor is not telling us the true story. The two cops at the scene were not telling the true story, and the municipal person who was there was not telling the true story. But Geraldo, who broke the case, is revealing actually what went down. So why not get it straight from the source? And I'm telling you guys, when this is all said and done and it's all over, I hope that newspaper gives him a raise and a promotion, because he did some fantastic investigative reporting on this case. So much so that the whole world had to pay attention to this particular case. So according to ABC News, he has answered questions for the American public that we were very, very curious about. For instance, why only one person got arrested in opposed to all of them who were at the scene. And in the video, it appears as though there were more than 3 people. But he said there were only 3 people present. So again, his name is Geraldo Seneca. So although the FBI did not release the name of the person they arrested as yet, this investigative reporter said he did confirm it was Daejhanae Johnson who got arrested. So just like how we are curious, he's also curious. So when the FBI put out that warrant and got that person, detained that person, put him into custody, he got his sources, and his sources confirmed to him that yes, Daejhanae Johnson was the one who was in FBI custody to be extradited back to Mexico. So you guys, although she was picked up by the FBI, she's still being held in custody here in the US because you know extradition is a process and it has to be coordinated through Interpol. And you guys already know that Interpol is the coordination agency between governments. They just can't come and get her. Mexico just can't come and get her here in the US. And the US government just can't ship her over there. It has to be coordinated. Interpol is the international police between countries. They deal with extradition issues. And there's a process in which the release of Daejhanae back into Mexico and the authorities in Mexico, that requires a process. There's a certain procedure. So she's still here in the US, but at least her family knows that she's in custody. This frenemy, because that's what you call them when you got friends who hate you deep down inside, frenemies. At least there's one down and 5 more to go. So the public here in the US wants a quick fix that all these people should be arrested right on the spot. But the thing is, the video was not a clear video. The video was very, very blurred. They have to get people's statements. And the reason why they picked up Daejhanae, according to Geraldo, is because it was clear that she was the one who was the beater. She was the one who was assaulting Shanquella. So by picking her up first, she can now turn evidence, state's evidence against others. If they choose not to come forward early, they're still going to be implicated. They're still going to be dragged down to the FBI's office because she's going to start squealing. She's going to start telling on all who was there and all who participated, all who videotaped, all who said, Daejhanae, why don't you put up a fight? She's going to start singing like a canary to save her own skin and maybe to get a reduced sentence. So the information of where, when, and how Daejhanae was picked up by the feds is the one who's going to be releasing that information. But because nobody got that information, they kept it so hush-hush and on the wraps that not even Geraldo got that information, honey, not even his source. So as we stand now, they're waiting for Daejhanae to squeal, to turn the table on her so-called friends, the ones who participated, the ones who were present. So folks, it's a wait-and-see game. We've got to be patient with this case. Like all other murder cases, it takes time to get the information. It takes time for the authorities to do their due diligence and investigate. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Mexico dropped the ball by allowing these 6 to leave, but they don't want egg on their face twice. So I'm sure they're going to go far and beyond the call of duty to make sure that everybody who is supposed to be prosecuted on their soil is going to be prosecuted. And since the FBI is involved, we know that they are going to turn every stone, every rock to get to those who are guilty. YouTubers, stay tuned for the next video. I'm over now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. Thank you for watching.